welcome to My Kind of Weird. My name is Anthony. Hi, weird folk. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a pivot. We're not really going to be doing the where we get a guest on and ask them to pitch 3 types of weird. We're going to do a bit of a pivot and ask them to bring one kind of weird so that we can delve a little bit more in detail about what makes them freaky. Joining me today is Ryan Adam Wells. Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me.
All right, Ryan, you have a kind of weird, so let's get into it. Pitch me your kind of weird.
Okay, so my kind of weird is a song called So Many People in the Neighborhood by a band called Ween. They're one of my very favorite bands. It's from one of my very favorite records, Quebec. So many people in the neighborhood. I don't know if they're very good people. And this song, man, it just is what it wants to be. It does not care about anything else. It does what it wants, and there is
when it wants.
When it wants, yeah. And it's honestly like the song feels like a sketch comedy bit, but it's also a jam. It's not overtly comedic,
yeah.
You know. It's not an actual comedy song, but it's structured like a skit, you know. And being a longtime writer and performer of sketch comedy, in addition to a musician, I guess it just speaks to my heart. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of those songs where I put it on and I'm just like, this isn't enough. I kind of need to know what leads up to and what and how it ends with the album. So, I mean, it's absolutely bonkers. Are they from Canada? Is that why it's called Quebec, the record?
I actually don't know. I guess that would make... No, it says they're from Pennsylvania. I just looked it up on Wiki. Yeah,
sure. Now that makes it makes so much more sense now, doesn't it?
Yeah, nothing to do in New Hope, Pennsylvania, apparently. That's how you get a band like Ween. It's funny that you said that thing about like needing to see the context, because I've shown that song to so many people over the years, and it's fun watching them react to it up to about a minute and a half.
Oh, don't get me wrong, the song gives you an aneurysm. So, just because I wanted to hear what comes before it and how their record ends doesn't mean I'm any closer to understanding why this song needs to exist. But it's just it does feel like a driving song. I don't know. Is there a film clip for this song where they're just sort of driving around town like the band? Because that's kind of how I pictured this. If there was a film, is there a film clip?
I don't think there is, and if there are, it would probably just be fan created. You know what I mean? Because Ween, true to their music, whenever they do make videos for the songs, they're equally bizarre and unrelated often. There's this great story about they were approached by, I believe it was Pizza Hut, to write a jingle for Pizza Hut, and Ween gets this like request, and they're like, did they research us at all? And it's clear that it was just some dudes in suits at the top of the Pizza Hut company that was like, looking at numbers like, this band tracks well with this demographic and we need that demographic. Let's see if they'll make us a jingle. And Ween sent them a tape that was just like drums and bass repetitive over and over again.
Yeah.
And occasionally a voice going, "Where the cheese go? Where the cheese go?" And that was the whole song. and Pizza Hut wrote them
Wow.
back, and they're like, "Well, we'd like you to take another pass at it. Maybe you can give us something better." Like it's they're trying to be like all like diplomatic. So Ween kept the exact same backing track, re-recorded the vocals, and sent it back
Yeah.
with just a voice going, "Man, where that motherfucking cheese go at?" over and over again, and they just never got another response.
Yeah, we're going in a different direction. Okay, bye.
Yeah, exactly. But they did make a video to that, and it's just like some weird claymation thing. Very funny.
Wow. Okay, that's really bonkers. I know you wanted to talk about the song, but I actually want to talk about the album a bit more.
Oh yeah.
What I find just absolutely bizarre, and it's just definitely came left of field, is the first song sounds like a Motorhead song.
Oh, no doubt. It sounds
And
yeah. It's gonna be a long night is the name of the song. It's just it
yeah,
rocks.
yeah. And I was just, and then spoilers, folks, the rest of the album does not sound like Motorhead, and neither does this track we're talking about. I My context of Ween was I think they did a whole bunch of tours with Weezer back in the day, and
Yeah. It's like
I
Weezer,
never
Ween, and Nerf
understood.
Herder.
Yeah, I really think that there's just too many dumb fucks in the music scene and music industry over in the US that just went, this band starts with a W. This band also starts with a W. We don't know what the fuck to do with these bands, so let's just put them together.
It's exactly that.
Um,
I think it's also that they all three of those bands, Ween, Weezer, and Nerf Herder, the band that they toured with, like all three of those bands kind of
yeah,
fit in this weird subcategory where
yeah,
like they weren't quite pop, they weren't quite rock, they weren't quite punk, they weren't quite blah 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 blah. Even though the three bands could not be more different from each other, the fact that they
yeah,
existed in this
yeah.
other category, I think that the Suits were just like, put them together, it'll be fine.
Yeah. If anything, Ween kind of reminds me of Bloodhound Gang. If
Oh,
Bloodhound Gang wrote about anything that isn't comedy, it's just, yeah. So there's that.
Ween is a not horny Bloodhound Gang.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Valium, Bloodhound Gang is Ween.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. Or Zoloft.
yeah. What the fuck with that song? And it was just so I was sort of getting like it was in the background, and as I was getting ready for work the other day, so it's said OLOFT, and then I found myself singing along to it, and I'm just like, what in the absolute fuck is this? And then I think I messaged you, and I'm just like, fuck you, Ryan, you fucking fuck.
Yeah.
Like with this song. Oh man, it's all over the place. This entire record is all over the place. But I got to applaud you though. The track that you chose is it's definitely as good an indicator of what to expect and what not to expect with this band.
Oh yeah. It sums them up in a weird way. This song and Hey There Fancy Pants are the two songs that I use to like be representative of what Ween is.
Is that the musical one?
Yeah.
It sounds like a musical. Like,
where he's singing all like 1920s style, and it has ridiculous
it definitely
solos
has
that
that
make no
doo-wop feel
sense.
to it. Oh man, there's congratulations. There's not many things where I just go, where the fuck did this come from? But fucking hell, like where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah, it's something else.
Yeah. What are the rest of their albums? Are they this style? If this is a style,
I mean,
the rest of their albums.
no, every one of their albums is kind of equally bonkers. I would say that I think Quebec stands out as being the most wildly varied, and like every track is a different genre and everything's just out there, But they definitely do that. Like that's kind of their thing is they try to be. I don't know if they try to be. I think they might just be weird. but like everything is weird. But they did do my other favorite record of theirs is called Solid Country Gold, and it's them doing a parody pop country record. And every single song very easily would pass on pop country radio in the 90s when it was released was in the 90s. And I was just like, yeah, this just sounds like a country record, except for the lyrics, which are all just like, once again, they're parroting pop country. So it's all lyrics about like beating up their women and riding in their trucks and taking a shit on the ground.
Yeah.
Piss up. One of the songs is called "Piss Up a Rope." That was the one they released as a single. it's just so good. On fire while she watches TV, and if you ever wondered what it's like to be me, she takes all my money and leaves me no smokes. Yells at my buddies and insults my folks. I'm breaking my back, doing the best that I can. She's got time for the dog and none for her man. And I'm no dope, but I can't cope. So hit the fucking road and piss up a rope. You can piss up a rope and you can put on your shoes. And their label buried that record for years. You couldn't find it. Like, it had like one pressing and then they canceled it. Probably because some of the lyrics were kind of violent, even though it was satire. And you couldn't find it. It was like a thing. I remember for about 10 years, I was hunting for it in record stores and I couldn't find, and it's finally now it's on Spotify. It's streaming everywhere as of a couple years ago. Yeah,
man, you can't escape Spotify.
No, you just can't.
Yeah. The good news is if you want to get paid less than a cent, Spotify's there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I get my monthly Spotify check, and it varies from 6 cents to, recently it's been about $5 or $6 each month, which is,
wow,
just brushing the dirt off my shoulders here, you know.
It's big time. That's isn't that's the standard living wage for America, isn't it? $6 an hour.
Yeah, that's our minimum wage. Yeah, it's pretty much. It's all so fucked here.
So as a muso, how would you define your style? Because don't you play a bit of country yourself?
Yeah, I like to call myself alternative country or cowpunk.
So is that instead of sleeping with your sisters, it's sleeping with your cousins?
Yeah, it's alternative. I like to, I started playing music because I remember when I was like preteen or whatever, I was like, man, poets don't get paid. I should be. I gotta do something.
Wow, that's a hot take there.
I mean, I was also an edgelord when I was a kid, so that's probably part of it. But
I think all elder millennials were, to be fair. If you weren't on Rotten.com and looking up pictures of people getting fucked by a horse, then you weren't living.
Oh, God, it's so true. The early days of the internet, just...
I got to admit, because you have that country background, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I'm just like, what's he going to send me? Is he going to send me some Johnny Cash? Is he going to... And that's about the extent of my country knowledge, so that's where it ended. So I just had no idea what you were going to send me.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, I played in punk bands for like 10 years. That was where I like cut my teeth. I was a punk rocker forever. And I really only switched to country because I'm a baritone and I got tired. Like being a punk rock frontman is so much work. It's just running and jumping and screaming and thrashing and, crowd surfing and all that stuff. My knees gave out, man. Picked up a guitar.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of bullshit you have to put up with being a punk frontman as well.
It's true.
It's, yeah. So, my kind of weird is Undertow by Tool, the album, not the song so much. Have you heard of this little-known local band called Tool?
Who? Never heard of them. Never. Not once.
pointing every finger at me, waiting like a stalking butler. Who upon the finger?
Yeah, man, I grew up on that fucking record. I love that album so much. I saw Tool actually like a couple months before the pandemic hit. Yeah, they're such an amazing show. Yeah, that record is an all-time fave from me. I got my first kiss to sober.
Did you?
Yeah.
That really says all sorts of fucked up things about that person.
I was dating this girl. We were out at a party in the middle of nowhere, some farm, and all the farm kids in the surrounding areas had gotten together at this little shed on the corner of a farm, and they were all doing meth. And we didn't want to do meth. So we went outside and sat in the bed of a pickup truck and looked at the stars and made out while Sober by Tool played.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
America.
Why wouldn't you want to do meth?
No, I'm just like, not for me. It's not for me. Not for me. Not for me.
You know, if you want to lose your teeth, it's great. If you have sort of this longing to give soft blowjobs to elderly men, it's a great drug for that. So I've heard.
It's cyclical too, because that's how you pay for the meth.
And with that's the end of the podcast. No. So what I find interesting about Undertow is it came out sort of and would have been recorded and written during sort of the real heyday of grunge. And that's what has struck me about the album as a whole. It was also very dark and, the lyrics are very dark. I mean, you can only talk about rape and anal sex in so many paragraphs before you start going, oh, this is a really dark record, and this is something is not, lithium or Smells Like Teen Spirit or, Man in a Box. It was just something that was just really different. It sort of bucked the trend of the mainstream grunge that was happening in your part of the world.
Yeah.
I also liked the visuals as well. I remember seeing, I'm pretty sure the film clip to Sober, and it was just all sorts of fucked up. The stop motion graphics that the guitarist Adam Jones sort of liked to do back in those days.
It was, as you say, just kind of unlike everything else that was happening. I remember when those videos came on, like, I've always been pretty easily terrified by horrific imagery. Like, I was never into horror films or any of that kind of stuff because I had my, like, vicious nightmares. But there was something about the Tool videos that were just like, I couldn't look away. But I didn't want to. It wasn't giving me nightmares. It was just fascinating. Like, his brain works very differently to mine, and anytime I encounter that, I'm completely hooked. Usually, for better or worse.
Yeah, I think his brain is on the sort of same sort of spectrum as someone like Guillermo del Toro in terms of imagery.
Yeah.
It's just sort of that. I mean, even some of the later Tool videos like Parabol and Parabola and Schism and things like that are very sort of that vein. And it's just, I mean, you got tracks like Sober, you got Crawl Away. I really enjoyed the Henry Rollins, talking about punk earlier, the Henry Rollins.
My absolute favorite celebrity. I love Henry Rollins so much.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, I just love how he doesn't really accept any sort of, he doesn't compromise his integrity. He doesn't compromise anything. And I think that's something about him that's sort of admirable. I think this as well is the first time he sort of did the spoken word thing.
Oh, yeah. Talking about as a hell of a spoken word artist, too. So that's...
Oh, yeah.
Whatever made him decide to start doing it, if it was bottom, then hell yeah.
I actually find he's such a sort of punk luminary, and I just kind of feel like his stuff that came after Black Flag is so much better.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. But I mean that it makes sense because with Black Flag, he was stepping into a thing that already existed, so it was never going to be the thing he made his mark with. It's like, I mean, nobody's talking about the guy that replaced Rob Halford. Like nobody's talking about the guy that stepped in after any number of metal bands that have cycled out singers just to continue. Like, I mean, I saw Saliva a couple years ago, not of my own accord.
Oh, God.
I was bartending at a show that they were playing, but
right.
But I was like, oh, this will be like a fun little like time machine. I'll watch Saliva, and I think there's one band member that was from the actual like days that they were a big thing, and it's everyone else is just cycled out. It's a different singer, a different guitarist. I'm just like, that's just a different band. I'm at a tribute show. Like it's not. That's fine, I guess. And they also only played. I think they played 2 of their songs, and everything else was other early OO's covers from other new metal bands, which is just like this is a choice. It just speaks to how so much of that genre new metal was like built by people in the suits in the offices of the labels, because it was all just
how can we weaponize and make money off this rap rock thing that's taking over?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another thing that's so admirable about Tool as well, is that even when that was huge, you had Lateralis come out during that time, and it was just so much not what that was. They're almost the Led Zeppelin of our generation.
That's a really apt comparison that I've never thought about, but I think that's pretty accurate.
I remember having this argument with someone when I was 19. This guy popped up and said it was trying to make the call that Pearl Jam are basically the Led Zeppelin of the 90s and 2000s. I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no fucking way they're the Led Zeppelin.
That's a person who doesn't understand Led Zeppelin's place in history, or like doesn't understand
Pearl Jams.
Yeah, or I mean, like when you look at Zeppelin as being like effectively proto metal, like Pearl Jam was just doing a thing that had already been done a whole bunch, and arguably poorly, depending on who you talk to. But like Zeppelin was stepping into a spot that was completely empty. There wasn't anything else like that, and that I think you hit the nail on the head, because Tool did the same thing. Like Tool, like even just with time signatures, even if we're just talking time signatures, they're doing shit that nobody else. Well, at least nobody else that was popular at that level ever really did.
Yeah.
For that style, you can make an argument about Zappa maybe, or there's probably some people that I just don't know enough about that somebody can scream at us in the comments for. Like you're right though. Like Zeppelin and Tool kind of have a similar trajectory, and they both birthed a lot of things inspired by them. I never thought
not all of them good as well.
No, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's this album. It goes into the darker parts of humanity a bit. It goes into the uncomfortable regions of, I think, the brain. Assuming one's brain isn't in the uncomfortable and darker regions to begin with. Just looking at this, so the artwork originally had liner notes with a nude obese woman, a nude thin man. It had the band members with pins in the sides of their heads, which apparently generated controversy because, those Christian lobbying groups in your country are all sorts of fun.
God,
and then this is interesting. Adam Jones, the guitarist, his pet pig, Mo, appears on the back cover. The pig that's on the bed of forks?
Oh, huh. I didn't realize that was owned by a band member.
Who the fuck just goes, I want to buy a pig?
Somebody's not friends with very many hippies, I see.
I eat pigs, so don't pet them. Um,
I think I know like 3 people in Texas that have Pet Pig.
I'm also not from Texas, so that's
neither am
another
I. I
thing.
just live here.
All right, so let's do the verdicts. Now, did you find that my pick was your kind of weird?
Yes. I mean, I love Tool. I am all about it. And as I said earlier, I'm fascinated by things that are completely and utterly unashamed to be themselves. And I think that's Maynard James Keenan. That's Tool as a unit as well. And so I really love anything that's proudly and wholeheartedly itself. It's also why I can't completely hate Kanye West. So I kind of admire that kind of a commitment to one's concept,
Yeah. I mean, he's a pretty fucking gross individual as it is, but I see what you mean.
Disgusting.
The individualism, I think you mean.
I'm actually mainly talking about his music. Like,
okay, right. Yeah.
It's like,
Jesus
Walks is like, now we're going way off track here, but I mean, that song is like perfect. It's a perfect song, even though I don't really like it. If that makes sense. Like, I'll listen to it because I will admire it, be like, wow, this song is fucking great, even though it's not like something I would ever create or put out into the world. And that's kind of how I look at Tool too. It's like, I could never create or do this, but it's beautiful and it's wild to listen to.
I think there are certain bands where it's just like, you could do away with that and the world wouldn't change so much.
Yeah.
But
most bands,
like brazen copycats. But I feel like this is a band that you can't do without. The world looks different if Tool's not in it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Now, of your kind of weird, the song is different. It's out there. I think not the song is my kind of weird, but I think the entire album is.
That makes perfect sense.
And the reason for that is if you just listen to the song, I think it's easy for anyone not familiar with Ween to just go, "No, I'm good." But if you want the sort of the full scope of it, like listening to it's good. It's a good album.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a band in Australia who you probably have never heard of called Regurgitator, who did a lot of really absurd kind of stuff, but really had really hard rock and really punchy songs, as well as the absolutely
I have heard of Regurgitator
kind of shit.
I have heard of them, and I think it's because of my Aussie friends. Because I've done, I think all told, if I shoved all the time I've spent in Australia together, I've spent like a year of my life there. Because I've done I think 5 or 6 tours. I did Adelaide Fringe 5 or 6 times. I did Perth 4 or 5 times, and then I did some regional touring for New South Wales and South Australia and Queensland. So,
right. I wondered why every now and again I see Aussie birds drop into your comments.
Oh yeah,
I'm just kind of like,
it's weird. I just most of my fan base is
I was just like,
Canada.
Fair enough. You're in the wrong country.
Yeah, you're not telling any lies there.
All right, we're going to go on a quick sponsor break, and when we get back, we're going to talk to Ryan more about his musical journey.
Ladies, gentlemen, and androgynous life forms, are you sick of hairy balls? Do you find yourself scratching your nether regions as you trudge through the wastelands, yearning for a smooth and sultry happy sack? Are you longing for the days of a pair of rusty hedge clippers as you bathe in the festering fluids of a giraffe's radioactive corpse? Well, fellow wastelanders, Kmart 3000 has a solution for you. Introducing the aptly named and definitely not radioactive bar of Green Light Soap. Ideal for almost any situation. The Green Light Soap not only removes ball hair, it cleans you and leaves you feeling fresh at the same time. Greenlight soap is so good, we asked a group of Wastelanders to test it out, who couldn't be here today. But trust me, they are fine. Everyone is fine. The Greenlight soap is packed with a fun array of features which have to be seen to be believed. Side effects may include, but not limited to, tingling, rashes, blood-soaked spores, cancer, growing testicles even if you never had one in the first place, crabs, no, not the STD ones, silly, the actual crabs, permanent shrinkage, mouths, cancer, leakage, extra nipple growth, belief in conspiracies, another butt, bright glowing penis, cancer. Right now, Kmart 3000 is giving you the opportunity to try out your very own bar of Greenlight soap at an embarrassingly low rate. Head to Kmart3000.com if you can find the internet and use the checkout code NOTPLUTONIUM. That's Kmart3000.com, code NOTPLUTONIUM. Hurry now, folks. Why give your old lady a pubic fright when you can bathe in the pleasure of a green light? Pay no attention to the green glow when you scrub below. And now, back to your regular scheduled programming.
So, Ryan, tell me about your musical journey.
Was that it? Was that the sponsor break?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, bye everyone. See you next week. No, let's come up with a good question. So tell me, okay, let's talk about the tour thing. You say you do alternative country, that's more your shtick. Why go to fringe festivals then?
So I actually got my start on the road as part of a comedy trio, doing like long form vaudeville sketch comedy. It was a group called Sound and Fury, self-described as vaudeville nouveau, and we would go to Adelaide and Perth every year and do an hour-long show that we wrote brand new every year that was just parodying some other genre. We did a sci-fi show called Spaceship Man. We did a film noir called Private Dick. We did a Western called Doc Faustus, which is the story of Faust retold as a spaghetti Western. That was kind of the whole thing. You know, it was zany and stupid and silly. And one of our hallmarks was everything goes wrong. Like, we break character, we quote unquote forget lines, we improv, we ad lib, we interact with the audience, set pieces fall over, costumes fall off, you know, and it was just three of us playing all the roles. So there were lots of fast costume changes and wrong costume changes, you know, that kind of thing. And then somewhere along the way, someone in London saw us and kind of yoinked the idea, and now they're doing the play that goes wrong. And it took off, and we didn't peter out so much as we just kind of focused on different things. I still work with them about once a year. We do Shakespeare festivals, like Renaissance fairs.
Okay.
We do fake Shakespeare stuff. We have a fake Odyssey show called Testicles and the Sack of Rome that we take to a lot of. So you know, it's that kind of show. That kind of tells you everything about it.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about it was that it opened all these doors for me on what I really want to do with my life, which is music and storytelling. And so I've been continuing on the fringe circuits, but with solo shows that are 1 hour long pieces that I call them Arlos, because they're similar to what Arlo Guthrie would do with Alice's Restaurant and Pickle Song, if you're familiar with those bits.
Where
I just I play guitar for an hour, I tell true stories and tie original music into it, and it all comes together for a moral or, you know, some kind of message at the end. And that's what I've been doing.
What is the message generally?
Generally speaking, I would say that my thrust as an artist is to kind of get the message.
Seeing a theme here: dicks, testicules, thrust.
Yeah. You know, something. You know, you lean into what you know. I'd say my message as an artist is probably we're all in this together. So most of my shows kind of focus on these elements of anything can happen to anyone, and we should all have more grace and love for each other. My first show is about an abusive relationship I was trapped in. It's called Beers About Songs. It's this woman I was dating for 2 years who used to just beat the shit out of me and berate me and belittle me. And that show's all about how easy it is to fall into something like that, even if you're, a
right.
6'4", 250-pound man like me, who, on the surface might look like somebody who could never have something like that happen. And then I got another show that's all about music and friendship called the 500 List. My best friend and I
Yeah.
each made our 500 favorite songs of all time, and we took a road trip over a week and listened to all 1,000 songs and had all kinds of adventures and stuff. And that's also that show also tackles some abuse and some addiction and that kind of stuff. And but they all have the same message of just kind of, we're all on this earth together and we're all pretty similar in spite of all of our differences. So we should find more grace and love and help each other out more.
Yeah, right. Well, it's a good message. Yeah, abuse is not a fun time. Can't say I've been involved in anything overly abusive, but hey, if it can happen to Mike Tyson,
Right?
it can happen to anyone just about, right?
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the whole point, it's just, and I'll tell you, doing those shows, especially Beers About Songs, the people that will come up and talk to me after the show, all shapes, all sizes, all sexes, all ages, people that'll want to be like, hey, we get a beer and talk about this? Because I was in a similar situation and I've never been able to talk about it, And that's the kind of shit that's like, that's what makes me want to do it. That is the interaction with people. Because I just love people in spite of everything that's happening in the world, especially in my country, which could very easily cause someone to completely lose faith in humanity. I love humans. I love them so much, and I love meeting people, and I love interacting with people and finding ways to connect. It's the thing that drives me in life is connecting people. So, like doing that show and having some, kind of like face tattooed, tough looking dude come up to me and give me a big hug and ask ask if we can go get some drinks, or trans people coming up and saying that they were their wife turned abusive once they started transitioning, or girls who had partners that terrified them into staying for 10 years and only just got out, or guys like me who had the same thing happen that I'm singing about, like all that kind of stuff. It's just like I don't know that there's a better way to heal than to connect with other people that have been through what you've been through. I think that's just like the easiest pathway to evolving and getting over the hurt. So if I can do that, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's really good. That's a real good message. I feel part of this world is fucked up as it is. There are certain parts of the human race that feel that, oh, a shit thing happened to me. Let's sort of pay it forward and be shit to someone else. And unfortunately, that is its own element of toxicity. And it doesn't really, it's just a shame that people feel that just because they were treated badly, that's their excuse to burn the rest of the world down around them.
Yeah, it's really depressing. You see that a lot. Yeah, I mean, obviously you see that a lot here in America, especially from people that fall to a certain side of the political spectrum. It's like, things were hard for me, so why should it be easier for anybody else? Seems to be the entire Republican Party's standpoint, which is hard to hear.
Yeah.
And, especially from the party that purports to be, the Jesus-loving party. I'm like, that's not what Jesus talked about at all. You're completely misinterpreting it.
Oh, mate, Jesus came up with the right to bear arms and, it's, that sort of message tends to change depending on who's telling it. So,
also true.
Where can people listen to your stuff?
I'm currently streaming everywhere. I've got 3 acoustic EPs that are on every platform, I think, except for Pandora. I think that's the only place you can't find me. But I'm on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music. Google Play is not a thing anymore. I'm on Tidal, like everywhere. And if you just search Ryan Adam Wells, you'll find all my stuff. The storytelling shows, I'm still working on getting them available for the masses. At the moment, you just got to kind of watch for me to come to a place near you. But I'm working on it. and hopefully soon they'll be streamable as well.
Yeah, man, you should get your troop together and, I don't know, record it as a podcast. Why not?
Yeah, we've talked about that, actually. We talked about doing the three of us doing kind of a comedy podcast, or not even, just shooting the shit. It just hasn't come to fruition.
It's a busy world.
What
can I say?
It really is. 10 million irons on the fire, always.
And where can people find you online? On socials, I mean?
I am at Ryan Adam Wells on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon. What else? YouTube. And then all the streaming platforms. I'm on Twitter as at AHHH Comics. Because I mainly use Twitter to share comic book panels and talk about comics. But you can follow me there.
Oh man, talk about toxic discussions. Comics is a leader when it comes to Twitter.
You're
that's
not
for
wrong.
Sure. All right. Thank you very much, Ryan, for dropping in. How does one drop down?
That's a great question. But I guess technically I'm dropping down from America.
We are way too sober to have the full philosophical discussion of how does one drop down. All right, everyone. This has been My Kind of Weird, the new and improved version where we talk a little bit more in detail. I feel like this has worked out pretty well. Let me know if it hasn't. Actually, don't let me know. Let me know if it has, and that will feed my own ego. But for now, we're going to leave this episode with Ryan doing his very best albatross impersonation.
That's an albatross, right? Or did you mean metaphorically? Like, oh, I'm so burdened.
All right, thanks for listening, everyone.